I was supposed to say this, I forgot about it. There will be somebody telling us shortly about the money that was raised for the reward, and we want to thank everybody for that also. It's like I said, this community just pulled together so much today, or through this whole investigation. It was unreal, and I really don't know how to thank everybody. As the sheriff mentioned, the night that this incident happened, he was there, and he stayed with me, sat by my side the whole night that we were there, and it was definitely needed by me. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was very nice to have him there, and like I said, the GBI, ATF, everybody that participates in the investigation did a super good job. But there will be somebody releasing the amount of the reward is out there, and they're not really sure everything how that's going to go right now. But that's what's going to happen with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we will open for questions. You can speak to law enforcement about law-related questions. You can speak to the family about their passions, but they're not going to talk about the investigation. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
First of all, my name is Larry Sproul with Channel 2. You spoke about how quickly there was an arrest in this case. Does that somehow bring some sort of justice or comfort knowing that the killer is behind bars? And my second question is, how did you feel once you found out the news that someone was arrested in this case?
So, does it bring comfort? Yes. That's always going to be the answer. I believe in everybody's opinion would be yes, it is. How did I feel? I was excited. A little disbelief at first, but Chief Whitlock told me, and it was like a ton of bricks had been lifted off my shoulders. Yeah.
Richard, you said that this is probably the last time you'll speak before justice is served as a family. What does that look like, justice, for you all?
Whatever the law allows, to the full extent of the law.
And so, just during the course of this, I'm sure that all of us can say that have been covering this, we all feel like we were able to know Lou, Evelyn, Tommy, just as people we would have probably hung out with. Going forward, what do you want this community to look at in terms of what they stood for and just this situation that you want them to take away with?
You know, the biggest thing you take away from this is when you live your life for God, there's no evil that can be done. God's in control of it. And He will, God will get His revenge in the end, one way or the other. Vengeance is His, it's not ours. And you understand, I'm standing here before you today because of grace and His mercy that's due every morning for each of us. If you know the Lord. If you don't know the Lord, you need to come to know Him. And that's what my mom, dad, and my son would have wanted.
Richard, we've learned a little bit about your family. Can you tell us a little bit more about Luke and your parents? You know, Luke was getting ready to go to school. Tell us about his passions and his interests.
Luke was one of those kids that's really, he was a bit on his own, to be honest with you. He stood for the Lord. He loved hanging out with our pastor. He had just come into himself as, you know, I remember just the following, the Sunday before this happened, the pastor called on him to pray at Disciple Fellowship, and he had never prayed out loud in front of a group of people just around myself and pastor and stuff. And he prayed. He said we got home that day, and he said, I was nervous, Dad. Nervous as I don't know what. And I'm like, yeah, but how'd you do? He said, I just talked to God. He said, and it was easy. He said, I wish I'd been doing it more. And my mom and dad, Christian people, raised me in a Christian home. They spent 75 years together, died together. They were both afraid of how they were going to leave out of here, but God took care of them. And they both had peaceful looks. They were happy.
What kind of relationship did your parents have with Luke? Would you say they were very close?
They were very close, yeah. Understatement. He was the only grandson of 7. So you can imagine there's 6 girls and 1 little boy, and of course that little boy got spoiled by them.
He was the baby.
He was the baby.
What was Luke planning to study down there?
So he was going for an ag degree, following in his sister's footsteps and trying to do what God wanted him to do. He had His goal was to, he said, to get animals off of airports to make it safe for the planes. So he wanted to do something with the USDA or DNR and eradicating some of the animals in the way, some of the wildlife, things like coyotes and stuff that get on the runway.
What was your proudest moment of your son?
Proudest moment? Probably when he was 5 or 6 years old, when he accepted the Lord as his personal Savior. That's my proudest moment. It was forever settled that day where he would be. And now I know where he is.
Did he work with them a lot at the store? Would he often be there?
He did, yes. He would love to be there. And we used to live right next door to it. And even as a little tot, he would drive his little battery-operated car up there, and Grandpa would call, "Hey, your boy's up here." And I'm like, "No, didn't know that. He was outside a while ago." We'd have to go out and get him. But yeah, he loved shooting. He loved hunting. He loved fishing. He loved anything outdoors. Being on the tractor. I mean, Luke was just an outdoors guy.
What would you want to tell the suspect?
I want to tell him about the Lord, because I don't think he knows him. And I want to tell him who Jesus Christ is and what he can do for him. Because that's who he needs.
Did you or your family know him?
I did not personally know him.
As far as the shooting range, that's a family-owned business. What's next for that?
Still praying about that, and that's going to be a lot of prayer time. I'm sure me and my pastor will have many days of prayer time about that. It's I ask the community to pray for me with me about it, because I don't know the answer to that. It's just I've got to pray about it.
I have a question for the chief, if I could. I know you mentioned you can't really say much about the case. Is there a motive at all? Can you explain or specify?
No, sir. Like I said earlier, this is not, we're not going to discuss anything about the case today. And I appreciate y'all understand that, and appreciate you not really pushing the issue. Today's about Richard and his family. And, this is hard enough for them, and I just want to get by with this right here today. So I appreciate y'all just bearing with me and just being with the family today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I saw you guys walk in here, and that's a walk that no one wants to do. How did you guys even prepare one another to get here?
I can answer for me. Prayer has helped me more than anything, and being just, we had prayer with Pastor pray with us before we come down, and I'm telling you, God's grace is sufficient. The peace that passes all understanding. I can't explain it, but God. There's 6 letters, and it's but God.
As you've traveled through the community over the last few weeks, and you've seen the outpouring of love and support, what has that meant for you and your family?
To me, it's been such a blessing. We were talking, me and my wife were talking, and my daughter, and it feels like your heart's imploded just in pieces. And to see the love and support we've gotten, it takes one of those little pieces and it puts it back in place. Doesn't say it make it right, but it puts it back in place. So it's just each time we see something like that, the hugs, the love, the support, the cards, everything, it's just a little piece goes back in place. It's not ever going to fix it, I don't think. There's no such word. I don't think it's closure. We were talking about that. As a coroner, I've given a lot of things and told a lot of people out there, and I'm sorry for it, that there's going to be closure one day. I don't think there is. That word will not be in my vocabulary anymore. So to answer your question, it's just little pieces of the heart go back in place. It's been wonderful.
Will you go back to work eventually and continue on?
Yes. Yeah, I'm already working hospital cases. Gary's taking care of scenes and stuff for me, so God's given me the grace to be able to do that.
Richard, when we heard that 911 call, when you called in on that date, at first it kind of felt like you were in processing mode, and then you realized it was your family. Do you remember that moment, calling 911?
I do.
What were you feeling in that moment?
We talked about this last night. The initial feeling was this hadn't happened. This is not real. And it's not real. And that's my baby boy laying in there. And then I went to questioning God, why? And then I got guilty because God hit me like a ton of bricks. And on the day Luke was born, we had a lot of complications with him. And after he was born, he wound up in the NICU. He did good through that. But we dedicated him to God. And God, I didn't hear it audibly, but I think the Holy Spirit had asked me, did you give him to me or not? And we dedicated Luke to God. He's his to use as he wanted. Then that's what we wanted. So after that, I felt a immediate relief and grace. To say it didn't hurt, it did. That's what I was telling my wife. I don't know how long it took Grantville to get there. Probably not long because they were sitting downtown. That's probably a minute and a half. The longest minute and a half I've been through. And questioning God and then feeling guilty about it and remembering that we dedicated Luke to God and he was his to use as he pleased. And I fully believe that.
Any other questions? We appreciate everything that you've done for us. You've been so appropriate and graceful and respectful, and we can't thank you enough. But we are going to close this chapter until after the court case, then we'll have our commentary. Until then, we just need to let them be peaceful and let law enforcement do their jobs, which they are doing an incredible job at right now. So if you need anything, call me. I will be sending out a release with the fundraising related to the reward and the fundraising related to charity later today.
Can you explain that a little bit more? There was funds that were raised for the reward. I'm assuming the reward was not used. Is that correct?
Hadn't been used yet.
So then those funds could go to something else, some kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And the support from the community was pretty incredible.
Do you know how much?
We'll be sending the numbers later today.
Thank you, folks. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank y'all.